Hello, everybody. I'm Russell Hill, your host of WTF, and that is What the FixedOPS Podcast. And I'm joined today by...
Hello, everyone. I'm Charity, your co-host here. And today we are joined by Don Pelham. He is the owner of Global Dealer Solutions and also a sponsor of the WTF Podcast. Don, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. How are you this morning?
Welcome. I mean, it's just the greatest day of my life. Morning, afternoon, I don't know what parts of the country. I think it just turned afternoon for Patrick and Charity, but it's 2 o'clock in our time. So I got to tell you, I could go down a real wormhole with Don Pelham, but I'm not going to do it today because I'll probably freak him, But look, y'all are going to really enjoy him. And so, Don, okay, you find solutions for dealership challenges, right? And you do a great job at it. Tell us what that means, how this came about. Tell us who Don Pelham is and what you do for this amazing industry that we call automotive.
Well, I was fortunate enough to work for some great retail operations during my time in retail. One of them most notoriously being Sterling McCall Toyota. You sell 150 cars on a Saturday, you start to see the car business in a little different light. And that's from sales to service and everything that goes along with that. I was fortunate enough to have a couple of people along the way that at least tipped me off to what was going on back there. Because as you know, most of us general managers come from the sales side. But a service manager came up the service manager came up and said, Don, I'd like to talk to you about some of this internal stuff that you're doing. And, I've talked to some of the guys over the years, yeah, if you'd come back, I'd like to tell it to you. Like, he didn't have a lot of excitement about whether this was going to go well. And like within a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, he says, those details that you're sending out. I said, yeah, the ones you want 150 for that I'm sending out for $50. He goes, yeah. He says, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm like, I got to see how he's going to make this look good for me. He says, well, you take that $50 and you send it out and it never returns to the dealership. He says, you send me the 150 and I redistribute it and 75% of it falls to the bottom line. Well, he had me hooked at that point because I went straight back up to the tower and said, hey guys, there's been a change in the labor rate. And now it's like, 3 or 4 times whatever our internal was.
Yeah.
And they're like, what happened? Apparently we were way behind. And they started just for a minute to start to complain about it. I'm like, come on, guys. How many of you are selling cars from sticker down instead of cost up? We know the last decision is, can I afford to sell it? So we went on. We never missed any gross profit. We brought all that money in-house and at one time did, a bunch of additional services, leather, wheels, sunroof, other things that we would bring into the fold on sales and do through our own service department. So I had an indication of what that was going to look like. But fast forward now, I leave retail, got into advertising, started out, as you can imagine, advertising to car dealers, right? Radio, TV, a lot of the old stuff that we used to do. And, it's ancient now, right? Yeah. But that worked really good up until about 2008. And I decided I didn't want to be in the car business advertising anymore. And tell the difference between my social security number and the number I got stuck with all the media of car dealers calling and saying, I canceled. To put it into perspective, we billed about $500,000 in October of that year, and in January of the next year, we invoiced like $20,000. So wow. We ain't got no money and no business, spend about $25,000 and go to a conference. So I did, and I told them all my complaints, and they really came back and gave me a way to sort of relook at what I was doing in the car business. And even though it started out with humble beginnings on the digital platform, we really feel like we got a jump start on what we were doing there. So that started our transition. But what we noticed, and particularly when I was doing consulting for other companies out there, everybody needed to understand how to say and talk in car talk, right? And by the time they would explain it to a marketing company, they're like, forget it. Let me just find somebody. I knew I was onto something when Bruce Thompson, hired me to take American Auto Exchange to NADA their first time. Funny story in itself. They ended up getting in way late, and they said, man, we got this booth, but it's way out in the back by the bathroom. I said, where's NADA this year? They said, New Orleans. I said, perfect. I'll get back. We'll do some creative. So we went out and thought, they were just mad as they could be about being stuck back to the bathroom, but I knew what was to come. So we wrote up all these big, marketing little strategy around come see us at the at the booth this year, and we'll be easy to find. We're right back by the bathroom. We knew they were all going to be going anyway, and I think we wrote up several deals at the conference. They were the talk of the town. Back in those days, eBay Motors president, called and said, "I don't know who did your marketing, but apparently y'all stole the show." They said they sold for 3 times more than they had been offered, like within a few months, and I successfully put myself out of a job because they had their own marketing department. But with that said, I knew there was such a gaping hole between the industry and the providers, and I got a chance to see that firsthand. And I was used to walking in a dealership and people saying, "Hey, Don," sort of like on Cheers, right? And, I walked in the doors, and I don't know if it was the people that were surrounding me or what was going on, but they like scattered. And I'm like, "What's going on?" "Well, they think you're a vendor." I'm like, "Well, note to self, I don't want to be one of them damn people. They don't sound like they're very sought after." So, through a series of just looking at these problems, we were taking square pegs into dealerships that didn't even know they needed square pegs. And hey, don't worry about it. We'll get it to fit. In fact, if it doesn't, we got a set of hammers out in the car. We'll get it all worked out for you, Mr. Dealer. They're still trying to get their head around the fact that I don't think I need something you say I can't do without. So I saw this, and I started to say, "Well, what is it that you need?" "Well, I'm really having problems over here, and this is going on over here." And through a combination of just cultivating these experiences, I came up with the concept of Global Dealer Solutions, which has really basically three core deals. Find good dealers that we can do a good job with. And that doesn't mean they're all bad, but we're not for everybody. Find actual solutions that work for the dealer.
No, hold on. That really work?
It's a concept, not like how much money can I make if I take this product? They got a spiff on it this month. But like, what's going to help this guy? And then number 3, can we implement successfully and train and maintain this product to be a staple for this dealership? And if I can't say yes to those 3, then we've got the wrong product. And as you know, there's multiple solutions seemingly in the same category sometimes that fit better than others. Knowing where the redundancies are, that sounds like good the way he said it, but he didn't realize he's already got 3 other things doing the same thing. It was just repackaged in a different way. So having now this is going to get really radical. What was if there was one person that would be the constant through all those different things? You didn't have to pay them. They did research for free. We're the best product ventures in the industry. And then you could talk to that guy about "Hey, I'm wanting to do this. What do you think?" And if he said yes, he could turn it on. He could get it updated, trained, maintained, and he would even cancel it if it didn't work. I know I'm stretching way far for the stars here, but that's what I set up Dealer Solutions.
Well, no, you're not. So I got to tell all of you, I have quite a history. I don't know if you heard the part. You may have just been getting on. So I believe I met you. I could be wrong. Kevin Whalen, Sterling called Toyota. And it was 96, 97. That's when I met John Traver, went through his boot camp. And of course, one of the premier things, this whole week long thing, was towards the end, everybody went to Sterling McCall Toyota. I mean, you walked into this department and their business development center was like, you couldn't even imagine how big it was. We're talking about this sort of over 1,000 units a month, easily. I mean, they were it, let me tell you. So a few years later, after I got out of retail, I went to work and then actually became a partner in a CRM company called Car Research. It wasn't even a CRM company when I first started. It was just a call center. And I encountered Don again. I think he left there and maybe even moved to Dallas. But anyway, he oversaw an automotive group. I forgot the name of it. And we started to develop a relationship back there. And then 11 years later, we're still brothers. I'm getting to know him just a little bit more. Sometimes you don't know how to take Don. You just don't know, because it's like, the next thing you know, and then you could turn the corner real quick and he'll pull you up real quick and say, "Hey, no, we're not doing that." And then I met him. I mean, we encountered each other on a bigger level with R&D Interactive. You remember that? Very unique product. Never could get it really to go where we wanted to go. And Don and I had this meat place that we used to meet often called Rudy's Barbecue up in Allen, right? That's where we would meet, and we would have a topic, never get to the topic. Next thing you know, the time's up and we got to go because we're just talking about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and all that kind of stuff, families and et cetera. And then FixedOPS marketing happened. Now we got to know each other in a real big way, because what he does, particularly post-COVID, aligns perfectly. There's so many vendors out there, so many of them. They're going to sell you just to sell you, but they're not all that way. I mean, we're kind of a necessary evil out there. we wouldn't even be where we're at today if it wasn't for vendors thinking outside of the box. Well, that's what Don and his company does. Got a team of people, and they cover the gamut from variable to fixed, etc. Did I about get some of that right, Don?
No, I mean, that's really it. I mean, you hate to show up and say, hey, what do you want? I mean, that's not really.
Whoa. Yeah.
Dealer, like, what if you really just had a goal to help this guy win? And that's where it all starts. And because of our model, we'll introduce a product or, recommend it at, a request or what have you. But that's it. I mean, once you say, okay, you don't do a bunch of homework and fill out forms and do all this stuff. And that immediately gets us involved with your group, gathering data, getting all the proper people involved in your product, for example. I mean, it touches a lot of different areas of the delership by the time we get through the BDC, the advisor group, the managers, how they're doing any marketing that we might be helping them with on that. It's just, you took what was a niche at R&D and niched it even more. And that was what I thought was really cool. And I'm like, wait, there's something going on. If Russell's going to build an entire business out of service marketing, I can tell you 4 years later, I'm blown away. I think there's plenty of evidence, much more greatly seen than even in our group of dealers who, are big fans. But I mean, look at the progress you guys have made with OEMs, the dealer groups and the things that are really starting to see the value in not just marketing, but what did we market? How many oil changes? How many services? What do I need to tweak in here? And I've just been continually impressed with how that's gone out. And, as a core product of ours in the beginning, one of the first resellers, we made that decision not to change any names. So we're not trying to hide anything. We're just trying to offer different type of customer service on great products like FixedOPS marketing. But that's another guy from FixedOPS marketing, and then another guy from the SCM thing, another guy. And pretty soon they got 15 or 20 of these guys running around there. And I've dealt with your guys, so I would like to, just disclaim that there's nothing wrong with the way you guys do it. In fact, there's a lot of things that I still feel like we could do better in watching your model. Having said that, we don't just do all the get up and going. We're by there every month, making sure we're keeping our promises, kissing baby, shaking hand, and then we're out of the way. We're not here to, take up a lot of time. We always say we're going to go around to the, heads of departments, make sure we're good, make sure they're on top of everything. Then we're going to go by the GM's office because he's always got people in there. And I tell at the beginning, if everything's good, give us a thumbs up. Now, if you need something, give us a finger. This finger. We're not typical in that fashion. That's what I think we get. And when something goes wrong, they have one number to call, one number to text. It usually, ends with on it. And that's what the dealer wants to know. They just want to know that problem's fixed. Heck, I had somebody call me the other day and want to know if we were their car offer rep. I'm like, heck, no, they don't have anything. Rep, what do you need? He says, well, I need to talk to him. I said, I'll have him call you. He says, well, I didn't think you know who he is. I said, I don't. He said, well, how are you going to have him call? I said, do you want to know how this baby's going to get born, or do you want the guy to call him? So 5 minutes later, he was on the phone with the guy, right? So that's the kind of concierge service that we want to present. We're not a selling organization in that we're in there all the time trying to sell things. We're just trying to keep our promises.
Sure.
The more we keep our promises, the more business they want to do with you. It's a funny concept.
Yeah.
It is. You say, you actually win. You don't have to do more like we used to try to get ahead. Just do what you said, and you're going to be received very well.
Yeah, that's enough in itself. And obviously build that relationship. Charity, question.
Yeah, well, Don, I think I've looked around. You have more than one business, I believe. And I wanted to ask you, what are some of the challenges that you have with running multiple companies? How do you adapt and multitask? Do you ever get any sleep?
Sleep? What a novelty, right?
Lasts longer than other times. But, for me, it's so much different. The two companies, I've got a brand development agency. Simply put, anything but car dealers are in that group, right? And we have global dealer solutions for car dealers because they are, in fact, so much different in a variety of ways. And I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. They're just different all the way around. What I see is the commonality of marketing, but it is when you're talking to a small business, which we have a whole division dedicated to on the agency side, they may be spending their last $300 hoping they're going to make a month. It's not that much different. $300 is a lot of money to that person, but $30,000 to that car dealer or $150,000 to that car dealer is a lot of money to them. I always say the same thing. At some point, Coca-Cola has a limited advertising. We'd all lucky have their brand equity. I think there's even a line on their financial statement that says brand equity. But, when putting those two together, then, how do those work? Well, the manufacturers take most of the brand elements away from what we would call a traditional brand. But we've even had a couple projects going on about rebranding. I don't think the average dealer realizes that we've got actually now a couple of generations that will rule you out based on your font type. Their font styles. Oh my, there's no way I could ever do business with those folks. I mean, looked like that thing. And it was made in 1973. They're like, I don't relate to that. So, if there's anything that comes together with those two businesses, keeping up on the latest and greatest user experiences, because we build websites and do website development and all the normal digital marketing things that we learned from a native standpoint back early on. And we utilize a lot that to connect the dots with car dealers, because I think the biggest problem that I see as a group is there's no overarching strategy in their marketing. It's like they know this guy that does this good really over here and this girl that does this over here, but nobody's connected all the dots to really leverage all those touch points of that marketing. So we keep doing those things. Does that help, Charity?
Yeah, that helps. That helps for sure. And do you think you've had any surprising things happen to you over the years while running your business? Are there any aha moments that you can share with us?
You want to know if there was like some surprises over in the non-car business part of the in the global dealer solutions world, So, no, I mean, the car business is a very fast-paced business, and tends to be just, my hair's on fire. Can you please put it out? And that's where we really come in, because we can take a lot of those things and just like the dealer's schedule doesn't magically clear out when there's a heat case or a problem. Like, hey, can you go make this go? See what's going on. Give me a solution. Find me an answer. And it doesn't really matter what the topic is at that time. They need it really quick because they're going. That doesn't work that way in most marketing departments, Charity. As you know, we've talked about this. It's a little bit more plotted out. We do like forecasting and, what would the year look like? I know that's mind blowing. How about we just went as far as a quarter and said, well, we're going to do this next 3 months. But there's different levels of, as you can imagine, with dealers and entrepreneurs alike. There's always different caveats, but I think it speaks a lot, because that brand experience early on got me a better understanding of what we've got to do to make ourselves look different than the typical client out there, or dealer advertising, or a client or advertising to a customer.
Yeah,
I gotta share this. I've learned so much from these things just keep popping. I've learned so much from Don over the years, and here's one thing I want to point out that was really revolutionary. And this was back in the R&D days. Everybody sees my card, but it's just a typical business card, but it's not really. It's lethal. Okay. And what I mean by that, it's as thick as a credit card, if not thicker. Don one day suggested this. And they're not cheap either. But listen, it is a phenomenal conversation and marketing piece. A business card. Yeah. Think of it. So I roll in, because I used to be a road warrior. I'd stop in, I'm busy with the gatekeeper, et cetera, and I'll hand her my card. Is he expecting you? I have a surprising amount of different ideas that comes to that. But I hand her my card, or him my card, usually it's a her, and inevitably here's what they start doing. And I'm watching them, and I said, is everything okay? Well, yeah, you got several cards. Mini cards, it looks like, stuck together. I said, no, I do that on purpose. And they go, why do you do that? Why is that? I haven't seen a card that thick. Why do you do that? Well, because people don't throw these cards away. And the worst case scenario is you can use it to flick it at somebody, and it can be very, very lethal if you're pissed off about something. But I said, people don't throw them away. Think of most of the cards. She said, yeah, they're flimsy and they're dog ear, or they got wrinkles in it or something like that. She said, this thing is like, it stands up on no. That has been a great conversation and starter for me, for businesses. And I remember years and years and years ago when I did it at R&D Interactive, and I came back with my new company, FixedOPS Marketing. And a dealer said, hold on a minute. I'm trying to think of the name as I'm telling the story, and it'll probably come to me. Hold on. That card. He saw that card. He said, I know who you are. I know who you are. This was years ago. He still had it in his desk from R&D Interactive, that thick card. Amazing story. That was a Reverend Russell reflection. No. So Don, anyway, that's just one of many things that come to light. are there any secrets to running a successful business?
Keep your promises.
Hold on, Don, is there any secrets to running a successful business?
Don't tell anybody. Keep your promises.
Surely it's not that simple.
No, it is. I mean, you get half an Amazon order, you get a half a Whataburger, whatever. It's like you can't quite get the whole. It's getting better, and this isn't a gloom and doom. It is getting better, but we've got to move away from that in our thinking. What we think about, we bring about. We're still trying to figure out why we're not making $1 kajillion a month like we were in COVID. That was a blessing from God above. I don't know how else to explain that. None of us were responsible for that. It was a blessing. I thought we would have learned a few different lessons, like maybe how to throttle inventory so we didn't have 1,000 units on the ground at 8% or 8.5% or 9% interest for. We'd be rolling them in and out. So I'm still scratching my head trying to figure it out, and I've never considered myself the sharpest tool in the shed. But you know what? Once I find something that works, I'll work it till it don't work no more. And, you just look at what's available and the shenanigans that are going on in our industry, and the dealers are so desperate to believe in someone. And it's just, I see... It's just as a 20-year car guy, it's just disheartening. It's like they're giving you a chance to trust them, and you're just lying to their face. So I see a lot of that stuff. I think overall lack of overall strategy. Like if you were going to link all these things together that we do in the name of marketing. Remember, there is a sales aspect of this. Are we connecting dots so that the salespeople know? Here's one for you. You want to let the salespeople know what you're advertising?
Whoa.
I mean, it might help. I don't know.
I know, but you know what? They don't. They're so disconnected. And listen, I love the key. It really is that build a relationship. It's all about relationship. They like you, they trust you, they believe you, they're going to buy from you. And you are the guru, in my opinion. I think I'm pretty good at relationships, but it's amazing how I only have 5 minutes for Don, and we're still talking 30 minutes later. And we didn't even really approach the subject once again, just like we sat down at the barbecue place. Anyway, Rudy's. So my question: do you think post-COVID, or maybe it was during COVID, and like me, a lot of us grew up on the variable side. Do you think there's is it just because I'm involved in this all the time and, all the things I'm doing? Or do you believe that there's some paradigm shift starting to take place where dealerships don't want to be a siloed like they used to be, and that they realize how important and crucial the people and fixed operations really is? Or is it just me?
Well, I mean, I look back, we started running out of cars, and it's like, oh, darn. I mean, okay, we're making sticker on them. There's still not enough of them coming in to make a month, right? And you know how that sort of waffled along there. And that was about the time you were coming in, with FixedOPS. And I'm like, oh, this is it. How about let's get some of those customer pay customers back in here? That was after the point where we thought we were going to be shut down for 30 days. But realized that this was just a perpetuating, ongoing, we don't know. Well, I mean, people still needed to go and do things. I mean, you had commercial vehicles out there that, those things break down. They cost you $3,000 or $4,000 a day.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Well, you got all this stuff going on, and I remember we could go back in there, and I mean, 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 5 people would, and still do today. I mean, the numbers have gotten better in my own block of business, but we used to say, look, you're going to get 20 to 25% redemption on these, video coupons. Oh, come on. And then they'd come in at 27 or 30, and now I see dealers coming in the 30s or 40. That's 1 out of 3 to almost 1 out of 2 people taking a coupon in this case, right? And then just the brains behind how that rolled into a notification of the dealership to go ahead and set up the call, which is the very thing they didn't want to do in the first place.
Exactly.
Was the dealership. Yes, yeah. It happens to all of us. You can't possibly plan around those high volume times, right? But now we've got a high touch experience, and on the dealership part, they back it up with a high touch, personalized. Mr. Jones, this is Don down from ABC Motors. I was just reaching out to see if I could set up an appointment for you. Our system notified us that you downloaded a synthetic oil change coupon. They're in shock. They really wanted to call, but they know better. You can go get out of the car business and go ask people who calls a dealer. Well, what the hell would you call a dealership for? Oh, no. You definitely don't ever call down there. That's And then we try to push them through a scheduling. We want them to assess their own, like, here, is it doing this? Is it doing this? By the time you get there, I've already run out of time. I need to go drop the kids off at school. How about I just download a coupon? They call me and they set it all up from there.
Yep.
Confirmed appointment within 5 minutes. And in looking for products like this, things that we can automate through the touch points that regard a human being. As we know, going through COVID, we lost a lot of the talents that, we had left.
Yeah, we did.
And we're having to hire new people that don't understand the concept of what maybe you and I did from learning how to sell cars in 1903. But, just the sickle part of just being able to talk to a person, not even trying to take advantage of them, not trying to sell them nothing, just like having a conversation. And we've got an entire generation of people that, hold on a minute, I'm going to get my phone. We're going to talk about this. Hold on. Or I don't get it.
It's funny, but it's so true.
It is true.
I see. I mean, and I'm not going to disclose this for all the, what do we call them, vendors? But the phone is a good, you on your phone, no one bothers. You walk through an entire dealership, just look at your phone. No one bothers you. It's like, I just pick up things from being on this side of the desk for so many years. So,
do you think that as I've experienced that because of the reference point, which nobody really has one, all they know is all the different website vendors they've had in the past, et cetera. Do you ever, at least initially, till they sit down long enough to get some more information, do you ever get any resistance? Oh, couponing system, no, because they don't really know. Because to say it's couponing is one thing, but to be a lead generation magnet is entirely different. Do you think, with your experience and that it really levels the playing field? Because all 4 of their profit centers are online, but only 2 of them have had any attention, and that's new and used. And now it's fixed time. Do you think that products that like that really genuinely, I mean, as you see, they get notifications instantly. Do you get any resistance? I'm just curious. No,
I mean, because remember, your average service drive, service advisor is just trying to get somebody off the drive so they don't kill them right off the bat with a bad survey. They're trying to get them dropped off. Oh my God, they got their phone out. They might be doing a review. I don't know. Care. And so again, I think we could use some just general, opening up and talking to people in that standpoint. But, if they're just trying to do that, what was one of the funniest things is, a customer comes in now with a coupon and says, I've never seen this, but I think I need one. It's called a throttle body injection cleaner. Service director now is falling out of his chair. He's been trying to get his guys to sell this stuff for, 3 years. They're just trying to get people off the drive so they don't get bad surveys. And the customer walks in and says, I'm not sure, but I think I need one of these.
Let me guess, at this very moment, another vendor is walking up to your lot with something shiny to sell. Before you head back and hide in your office, let me take a minute to tell you about my friend Don Pelham and my friends over at Global Dealer Solutions. They exist to help you find solutions to problems, some of which you might not even know you have. Best of all, they can manage as many products and services as needed for you, helping cut down on multiple vendor visits and distractions. And if you need anything, you have one number to call or text for the response all dealers like to hear. On it, GDS understands that successful dealerships require more than a set it and forget it mentality. And they'll be with you every step of the way, from setup, implementation, training, and support. And if necessary, they'll even cancel non-performing products for you. No pushback, no arguments, just a solutioneer executing course corrections as needed. Check out gdsdealers.com to learn the difference and set up a time to meet. Let's see if they're a good fit for you.
Those are the kind of experiences we noticed right off in the beginning with female clientele. Charity, you can weigh in on this, but my experiences with a single mom, 3 sisters, 2.5 ex-wives, a current wife, a nanny, and 3 dogs. I don't understand the species, but they always wanted to talk about how to buy and how to service a car. Well, in the beginning, I'm like, I was getting back feedback from my these female customers sure are making decisions a lot quicker. I had one bring me a nest the other day, and I think it's like anything else. Given a reasonable amount of information, I don't think it matters if you're man, woman, or beast. I mean, that makes sense. I believe that sort of tore down some of those walls. What do you think, Charity?
Well, I mean, I think it makes sense, right? So you have more information at your fingertips. As a girl, I wasn't taught to do an oil change. I definitely don't know the difference between semi-synthetic or the rest of them, or even what they're called. So, I mean, it makes sense to have like I think it sounds oversimplified to say coupons, right? Because there's like videos that educate the consumer. And like you said, they're on their phone, right? So it's actually very complex, but completely automated and hands-off system that I think appeals to just more than one type of person.
Well, and too, remember that, we're displaying these things in a way that, we saw a lot of those Jiffy Lube, Goodyear, kind of Firestone customers coming back. Something where they were getting their old, and they're upset, they're online. Well, we're picking them up on local search, right, with GBP. We're picking them up on organic results because of what we're doing on the SEO work, right? So now we've got this customer that for some reason, we're not sure why they're shopping. They're shopping for a new place to get their oil change. I wonder why. That's not because they had a great experience. They'd be going back to see old Joe. So now we get to bring them in, give them some of our Starbucks coffee, and give them that opportunity to consider a new place to do it. And it all starts with that being online and being at the right place at the right time. Again, only focusing on service, has been such a great value for, what you guys provide for a dealer. And because it just covers, the basic bases that I'm talking about, even like from an overall marketing standpoint, there's a strategy, and when service marketing came in, it was the only thing of Google's that you hadn't taken advantage of. You took GBP, you took advantage of the SEO algorithm. Now all we need for the AdWords. And what people don't realize is that you're utilizing that whole budget just to drive things to your free clicks, which are on GBP, because they're not seeing those 5 stars, right? Yep. So those are the things, but if that's I still don't feel like I've quite answered that the way you wanted it, but those are the things that I see, for simplicity's sake, ease of use. Oh, I know what I was going to say is, I see more pushback on the word coupon when I'm dealing with a highline, upper highline word. Why don't we just call them featured offers, featured, services? Here's a little criteria, depending on who you believe. Coupon clippers spend 23 to 38% more than the rest of us people that don't have
right. Don, I think it's really a dealer thing. This is something that is a topic that we're making some changes right now. You have service coupons, service offers, and service specials. Most search terms, people are typing in coupons. But the dealer, when we go to the website now, what we're doing with all the new people that we're installing, we're either service specials or service offers. We're not putting coupons anymore. It seems to have a negative connotation with the dealerships, although people know it represents savings. They're looking for a coupon or specials of some sort or another. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very big deal. Most people consider no coupon. No, we're not going to do a $9.95 loss leader oil change. We're not going to do that like, Jiffy Lube down the street or something. No. We're not asking you to do that. The better job you do at building value, the less objection you have to price. All you have is price. And because have done such a sloppy job, we've actually created 16 non-franchise entities around every franchise dealer. Dealers, like what you're talking about, they're starting to figure that out now, and they're starting to take that back because it's rightfully theirs. Those people have made millions of dollars around that Toyota dealership, right? Well,
and here's one in a close kissing cousin to that, right? I mean, if you're looking at the mentality behind what these people are doing, you want to. And this happened, I noticed, coming out of COVID, oil supplies, filters, couldn't get filters, everything went up. And we saw oil changes go from 49 to 59 to 69 to 99. And somewhere over the 69, no one thought it was a deal. We didn't think it was a deal. The customer didn't think it was a deal. Even if they were about to go pay somebody more, they were there already. They weren't online. So I noticed the deal, and I remember the first deal I did, I said, listen, I think if you're taking changes from a dollar amount to a percentage off, they're looking for a reason to say yes. They'd rather get 10. Oh, hell, they're on 10% off here at ABC Motors today. Let's go try them, see if we like their service better. Instead of, hey, buy 3 for $199. Who's buying 3 oil changes at once these days? They're still trying to figure out how to afford lettuce. We want them to buy 3 oil change specials. Just give me 15% off. And when they get to the dealership, you can tell them what it's 15% off of. I don't know if they got a diesel, a 6-cylinder, a 4-cylinder. Maybe they're trying to change the oil in their EV. We got all kinds of crazy things going on. But that is a great point because
people respond. You'd be surprised. I'm going to quote Joshua. He's an operations guy. He's researched 47.2 million data points. He knows the 30 highest performing offers in our industry, where they should be placed, a percentage versus a dollar amount versus a hard price or valued at, etc. He's done such tremendous. He's just that way. He digs in, but it is staggering. As a matter of fact, we just got this information in the last few weeks. I'm going to, off scale. I'll send you that so you can see it.
I don't know about that yet, and still be up on all my dealer service, but I'd love to see it.
All right. So, Charity, question.
A great example of how to use that data to manage your store better, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Let's circle back to marketing. What's more effective, online or in person, Don?
I'm a car dealer. I feel like I'm qualified to speak on this after 20 years on the retail side. But, I schedule meetings. I show up. It gets started late. Something's ran over the other. It's just, and for most of my dealers, I did get kicked out of one the corporate sent me to see it. He says, I don't take appointments from vendors. I don't have to take walk-ins from vendors. I said, well, lucky for you, I'm a solutioneer. He says,
That's Don.
He said, you're still a vendor to me. Well, I'd like to say we've turned the corner now, and I've gotten in and done some training, got his guys all excited. And, but for the most part, what we're bringing, we're not one of that group, right? We're in, we're out, as long as what we're doing is working. But what I find is I can do all that from my computer every morning. I don't need to go by them to tell. I get dealers now that say, I'll go and start telling them we're at this on, percentage on FixedOPS, we're at this on sites. Just forget it. I had one the other day. Just quit telling me all that damn stuff. I can't figure out a way to stump you anyway. Well, I ain't trying to put, I'm just on top of stuff, report back what you don't have time to read, another email. God, that's all we need, email. So how about I just tell you? But they've also seen me walk in like, you got a minute, we need to take a look at this stuff. Something's different. You fell down to 6%. I said, I'm just impressed that you knew I was down to 6%. And that is the epitome of what we try to do very well at GDS, is that I literally had this conversation with a dealer the other day. He called his advertising rep, and it's let's just say it's a group, a bigger group.
I know who you're talking about.
With his ad guy, and he says, hey, by the way, what am I running this month? This is the response. Well, I don't know what you're running. Don't you read your advertising Bible? Your marketing Bible? Like, that was about the time I'd have said you're fired. He did a lot better than I did. But, this is what, it's just a different relationship when you've been a car guy and you're thinking through it as to like, how do I really help my alma mater instead of how do I go fleece a bunch of guys for whatever the spiffy is on the hottest shiny thing. Because all those shiny things we're finding out don't work.
Mm-hmm.
I can just go over example of just, broken promises, never was. I had a deal the other day that I said, it's been about, I guess maybe 5 months now, mate. They signed off and the guy, great dealer, he's always straightforward. He said, I got to tell you, wasn't anything wrong with your pitch. But these guys, holy cow, I'm going to send you their deck. You ought to see what they showed me. It was great. 3 months later, we're trying to figure out what all this traffic is that they're doing because the average 30 seconds of it. So that's what's heartbreaking because this is a great guy and he puts trust out forward. The same way with me. I'll give you all of my trust up front. Now, let's see how much you manage to hold on to because, you're only as good as your word. And in our business, Jack Kendall, famous last words, we always find ways to make friends again in the car business. Somebody gets fired and the guy that fired him hires the one that just fired him.
That's true.
But that's the way we work. And, if we can just start out with the fundamentals of what really is going to help put another butt in the seat, put another car in the service department, that's what our dealers need right now, most of all.
True.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you sort of an open-ended, interpret as you wish type of question.
Watch out.
What is success?
Mine's probably a lot different than the average guy, but it'd be something along the lines of this, love your God, love your wife, and save time for a little rocky road for your friends. Because, this life, goes by about that quick. And most of the stuff that I chased as a younger man, blew with the wind, just like the Bible says. And, I think life's too short to bullshit everybody. Say what you mean what you say. If you can't do it, get out of the way so somebody can. Use the trust that you got in relationships to build better products, systems, strategies, for everybody to achieve from. But it's just, this world has become very complex. I feel like I'm starting to sound like my granddad all those years later.
It has. It's really, it really has. And that brings me to a question right behind that. So in the off time that you have, if you ever have anything, what do you do to relax, to rejuvenate yourself, to charge your batteries, etc.? I mean, anything you want to share that's legal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can even share some illegal ones, but I mean, because there were
those two.
My idea of vacation last year, not 24, but 23. I took the last 2 weeks of January and I went to a camp where people lose weight. I was trying to gain about 25 pounds. I just figured, well, hell, with all that weight being lost, surely I could pick up some of it and come home with it. Well, I ended up losing 4 pounds, but a lot of fat, gained a lot of muscle, came home, put a lot of work into it. And, it's the time to catch up on the things I've been wanting to do, but a little bit of a people pleaser and a big guy on keeping words, even if I have to write checks to keep my word. That's how I like to go out and, that's my idea of rest, is actually go out and work out 12 days, 12 hours a day at a camp. But, I think, my wife and I are at a point in our relationship where our schedules around, certain activities, exercise and things. We love to run. We love to ride bikes. We both work out. So those are things that I've found, particularly in the kind of business that you and I are in, really, really help to release pressure and stress. I know it sounds fun. Let's say you're going to leave, 15 hours a day and go work out. But it really helps, my faith is a big thing for me. Sunday mornings are my favorite day of the week. And life is just a lot more simple these days. So I've actually coined a new phrase I've shared with a few of my dealers. I thought all this time that I was, you sell 800 cars a month, new cars, and 400 used cars. You sort of feel like a king. But apparently I was wrong all the time. I'm not a king. I'm a king maker. So if you need help becoming a king of the car business, give me a call and, we'll talk strategy. But that's sort of my thoughts on it.
That's correct. I love that.
That's beautiful. And I did pick through your online history a little bit before this interview, and I noticed that you emphasized picking a boss over a job for people who are just starting out in their careers. And I never knew that was an option. So can you tell us what you meant by that?
Well, we won't go into all the full dollars and cents and hours spent in therapy, but apparently some of us need more mentoring than others. But I think my dad died when I was 4. I was, absent that, important mentor in life. And I just always levitated towards guys in the car business, typically older only because of the experience. But there's a lot of newer talent, I wouldn't say brand new, but newer talent that came in after, our generation of car guys that, had that digital savviness, but yet had that gift of gab that could, do what we do in the car business, because we deal with so many different personalities. It's just selling into a civil conversation sometimes because of the way customers come in and such. But I think I was going somewhere with that, and I don't know what the ending sounds like.
Okay. Happens to me all the time. It really does.
Charity, what's the question?
Picking a boss over a job.
Okay, so I think the picking the boss thing really for me was because of that mentoring need. I was always and forever trying to figure out how to do it. My mom was a librarian at the local library where I grew up. So I figured out where the cliff notes were early in life, like before anybody should have ever told them to me, because I've literally at this point in my life read like 9 books, but I know a lot of cliff notes. So and I like because I'm driving a lot, I'll listen to stuff, but it's like, I don't know where people find the time to sit down and read for 2 hours. I read 2 or 3 pages in the morning of a devotion. I'm like, ooh, that's a lot. I use up my word poster for the day. I got to get up some of these car dealers and do some audibles. But I think for me, having that mentoring and having somebody that, a good boss sees value in someone that can, bring overall value to the company, the business, whether it's his or not. And for me, that's been a tremendous, benefit is making sure the guy that I'm going to work for is the right guy. And that usually in the car business is because I just lost a job. I need to get another one. Take another day or two and check out some of the opportunities out there. Because, there's just a vast difference between, the ways the car business ran and, any job in general. But I think that's where that article or what I was really feeling most when I wrote that, Charity.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well,
Go ahead, Charity.
Oh, sorry, Russell. No, I've never heard that before, but I get what you're saying. But it's nice to hear you explain it as well.
Okay. Now for the Olympic stuff. No, what else?
No, I forgot what I was going to say. Actually, we're getting close here. So first of all, I got to do this. I do this about every time. Charity probably knows it's coming, but you know what? I don't care. Okay. But Don, I got to tell you, this WTF podcast has been very, very successful, and not really because of me. It's really her coming up with the idea, but she does. I know you, but there's some things mentioned here that I didn't even know about. So she really digs in and does her homework, and it makes for a great show. Obviously, there's proof of it everywhere. Now she's got Patrick backing her up to help her out, so we can focus on other things as well. But it's we're really, she's just really amazing at some of the questions, how she structures this thing. So what do you find most difficult or most complicated in running your own business?
There's a couple things that come to mind. A guy told me early on in my business, when you're at the top of the ladder, the only thing that's showing is your posterior, and everybody wants a piece of it. I feel like that's as much in my own business as I did in the car business. That ladder that we try to climb.
Sure.
I'm glad that part isn't there, but we had sales meetings in the car business. Even if you were given one, you sort of pumped yourself up by the end of it. And, there's not that. Who am I supposed to get my batteries charged by, right? And that's where the mentoring, even if it's not a boss, which is my case, but those relationships where I know I can get honest feedback and somebody will call me out if they think I'm, BSing them. That's where I think the opportunity for growth is, right? What you see in me that I don't see, and what I see in you that you don't see, there's value there. Now, what I see in you that you see in you now, that's just an opinion, right? So I look for that kind of feedback, and you have to ask the hard questions, and with communication being defined and clear, you have better relationships. And we know the speed that we go in this industry. And I'm like, how did that go from that to what did you do? Okay, yeah. What do you got to do when you clean the milk? Spill the milk, clean it up, right? So we do a lot of that, and it's a saying that I've said a lot, but it's funny how we didn't find time to do that right the first time, but we seem to find time to do it right the second time, or maybe the fifth time, and those are the things where it's like fast is not always fast. Sometimes slower is fast. So I think we have to find better processes, find better mentors. I've got a business coach. I'm in groups I think everybody learns differently.
Yes.
But those are the things that I find difficult in what I do to get around them.
So I'm in a lot of meetings, and I really hear a lot of the same stuff today that I heard 39 years ago when I got into the car business. And mentors are an important part of changing that. Really, it doesn't make any difference. They're crying the blues, etc. But only the top 5% of the people even get it. And then there's people that are in that top 5% that just go to the next level. But it is surrounding yourself and protecting this right up here, because it's really important. You can get caught in a quagmire of crap real quick, listening to the wrong people and checking your own, whatever you want to do. I tend to be somewhat naive and gullible and trusting. My wife is always checking me on that. She said, that guy is full of crap. And, I said, well, everybody deserves a second chance. I see something there. And Charity's pretty good at that too. And inevitably I end up getting spanked. But you know what? It's okay. I just love those people where they're at and move on down the road. But there's been many times where I wish I would have acted much sooner than later, because it's cost me as well. It's cost the company, it's cost our employees, et cetera. And I think it costs the dealerships the same type of stuff. So let me ask you this. This is a great question. What sort of major trends have you seen? And I don't know if that's before, during, or after. It was a great question. I kept focusing on what sort of major trends. Is there any that come to mind before we get ready to close here?
And he's referring to like trends in marketing over your 2 decades of experience. And he switches, especially around like the zombie virus before and after. And
I had a couple of mixed thoughts there, but I was the guy that was, saw 1,100 dealerships in 2020 and had to fly into Philadelphia to drive into New Jersey because all the stuff that I just wasn't like. Okay, if life's over, it's going to be on my terms, not on because I'm sitting at home worried about something that, I don't know what that caused. Like, we'd always known there's a fear of death, at least I thought. And all of a sudden, now we're invincible and none of us could ever die. And nobody ever thought that all this travel, all the things. If you look at the fast-paced the world goes, this stuff's spread in circles. Now I'm worried about getting this thing that they got down here in Texas with the eyes all getting all watery and flesh eating. And it's like.
Well, I thought that was allergies.
Oh, my God. Where you're tripping over dead bodies to get to the garage, So the first thing is don't listen to the news. But I noticed, though, and what I love about the car business is it don't matter what's going on. There is something going on in a car dealership. So, you might pass it on the TV going by, but it's just, it's just a passing deal. We still got to sell cars, still got to service cars, still got to keep people happy. So I think if anything, it probably gave us an indication that, a lot of dealers are much more woke, if we want to use that number, to what's possible in fixed ops. It was the most neglected part in service, maybe service and parts, the most neglected departments in a dealership, through my career. All of us guys that were beating on our chest out front about how many cars we sold, we're doing fixed ops. Most of us would be retired with nice little paychecks coming in, 75 cents to the bottom dollar in service. And we're down in the scratch to fight to keep 30 or 25 probably headed towards with some of the mentalities that we have out there, among our group. It's real simple. There's not fewer shoppers. There's not fewer customers servicing cars. There's fewer people spending their money on those things. So you've got to get out there quicker, faster, convert better, and have some training around what you're going to do when they finally ship. The last thing you want to do is end up like Bill and Hillary when they got to the White House. Oh shit! Now what? I'm winning, right? So it's like you want to have a game plan the fair plan, whatever you say, it's going to happen. So I think that was the good part. It opened up to what was happening. We once and for all let them see that digital retailing is a farce. No one wants it. It got up to 5%. It's trending back. There's your trend, a trend in downward trends of digital retailing. They want to come and buy it. You think they trust a car dealer enough to do everything over the phone? They even have doubts. And we're trying to push them in a direction like we're in Amazon. They don't trust us like they trust them. Even though we can start buying cars pretty soon on Amazon. They're still going to go somewhere to pick it up. Yep. So I think, those are some things. Clearly the EV trend has been figured out. It's in a race to zero. My wife may be the only qualified customer for an EV that I know. She drives one way to 7-Eleven every day. In back for a habit that so we won't talk about it, but it's like she comes in, she plugs it and goes, and that's a good thing because I've got such a firm grip on this. If I needed to get rid of it, now I'd have to take out a dang FHA loan. I think it's retail for 56, and I got a bid on it the other day with one of my trade tools. It's going to bring 23 all day, whether I want it to or not. And it's 8 months old, so there's your trend.
I hear you, and a lot. That we could, and I would love to, but we're unfortunately out of time. Charity, last question. Are there any questions that we didn't ask you that you would have liked us to ask? Yeah.
Well, if you could answer this last question for me, then maybe we can part on a great note. You didn't sell enough cars last month. So what I want you to do is we're going to go and cut your ad budget. Now you need to sell more cars next month with less marketing budget. And by the way, I just fired half the BDC or something like that. But more along the lines of how do we keep selling what we didn't sell enough last month with our ad budget the way we had it. So we're going to spend less money this month and sell. Maybe it's that new millennial math. I haven't quite.
No, here's the solution. Here's just get rid of half your BDC. That'll save you the money.
Oh yeah. That one works pretty good. So
that's commonplace, isn't it, Don?
We've just seen it happen too many times.
Listen, everybody. Don Pelham, owner of Global Dealer Solutions, solutioneer. The guy is a solutioneer. He really is. We thank you for your sponsorship. We thank you, humbled, honored, and grateful for your time today as well. And I'll tell you what, we're shutting the book on another extremely successful episode of WTF. And that's what the FixedOPS, all of you. So be looking for him. You'll see it. Listen to the shorts. Make comments, love him, like him, ask questions. Even if you don't, just talk about him. And look, he's very easy to engage with. Trust me, he really is. So get to know Don Pelham like I have. Thank you, Don, very much for your time.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.